Hey, what's going on, Celebration family? It is midweek motivational time. I hope that everyone is enjoying this brand new year and that you're getting a brand new start and that God is giving you a brand new vision to hold on to as we move forward in 2023. And this time of year is when we as a church begin to prepare for what we call the Daniel fast. And so I wanted to just take a moment and just talk about the process that we're about to embark on, because I know that sometimes we get questions with regards to what exactly is the fast for, what is a fast, and what can I eat? But I want to just talk about the basics with regards to what it means to fast. So today what I want to talk about is just fast food. And we've been talking about, as we've been beginning this month, this new year, this new quarter, we've been talking about the expanse and talking about in the beginning, God from Genesis, and a brand new start as we go into what it is that God has for us this year. And so with regards to fasting, what exactly is fasting? Well, the dictionary defines it as abstaining from all or some kinds of food or drink, especially as a religious observance. Even the dictionary recognizes the spiritual aspect of what fasting brings to the table, but what exactly are some of the benefits that come along with fasting? Well, it promotes blood sugar control by reducing insulin resistance. It promotes better health by fighting inflammation, and it even aids in the process of weight loss by limiting calorie intake and boosting your metabolism as you go throughout the process. But is that the reason that we do fasting as a church, as a people of God? Is that the reason that God has called us to fast? Well, I want to bring you to Mark 9:25, going through verse 29. And this is going to be a little bit more on the King James side of the house. So bear with me as we go through thou, thee, and they, all right? And it says, when Jesus saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the foul spirit, saying unto them, thou dumb and deaf spirit, I charge thee, come out of him, and enter no more into him. And the spirit cried, and rent him sore, and came out of him, and he was as one dead, insomuch that many said, he is dead. This evil spirit came out of this man, and it seemed like it rendered him dead. It seemed like he had no life in him, so he probably went pale, he probably went cold, and what he once was familiar with was no longer in him, and his body responded with a state of almost death. And it says that Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he arose. And when he was come into the house, his disciples asked him privately, why could not we cast him out? The disciples were going out, they were going forth, and they were carrying out the work that God would call them to carry out. But for some reason, they just could not get this spirit out of this man. And so they were confused because Jesus came and he cast it out with what seemed like no problem. And he responds in verse 29 and says, he said unto them, this kind can come forth by nothing, but by prayer and fasting. Saints of God, the reason that we fast isn't so that we can get all of those health benefits. Yeah, sure, those benefits come along with it. Sure, we may lose weight, and sure, it may even out blood levels and things like that. But that's not the reason that we go into this fasting season. No, saints. The reason is because there are things in your life, there are situations in your life that have taken hold. And they've taken hold in a way where you feel like you're weighed down. You feel like you're being torn away from what it is that God has called you to do, carrying out the mission that God has called you to carry out. How often do we find that we make these things called New Year resolutions, and within 30, 60 days, the very promises that we made have fallen to the wayside, and we forget all about that promise that we made about this new self, this new life, and this new perspective on it? Well, saints of God, there are certain things in your life that cannot be broken unless there is prayer accompanied with fasting. And so as we go forth, as we move forward into this Daniel fast that begins soon, I want you to focus on God. Think to yourself and ask yourself, pray, God, what is it in my life that's holding me back? What's stopping me from pursuing you like I've never pursued you before? God, what is keeping me held down from being able to reach the heights that you've called me to reach? Saints of God, I want you to go into this fasting season with the understanding that God is about to break something in your life. He's about to bring revelation to you in your life. He's going to deposit the energy. He's going to deposit the strength. He's going to deposit the wisdom. He's going to deposit what you need to be able to move forward in the plan that God has for you. And so, saints, I want you to grab hold of that fast food. I'm not talking about the physical nourishment. I'm talking about the spiritual food that God has for you, that God has for me, and so that you can experience that brand new start that God has for you in this 2023 year, as we look at the marvel that is the expanse that God has created, and we begin to experience that beginning that God has for each and every single one of us. Saints of God, reach for that word, reach for that nourishment, reach for that everlasting water, reach for Jesus today, and watch him change your tomorrow.